kind of been a revelation for me to think about God enjoying every note that I play, or thinking about it from a standpoint of like, is the notes that I'm picking right now done out of worship, you know? And it's a challenge, it's fun. So if I'm not singing and I'm just playing guitar by myself, or I'm playing with a band, that to think about the note choice as a choice that's more beautiful or more worshipful in its selection.
You're going to get a really different output if that's your if that's your view of it.
Absolutely.
Your view of music, if it's understanding that it's pleasing to God and it's something that He's actually taking delight in and taking joy in.
Yeah. And it's an offering, actually. Because if you think about it, when you play for people, you're trying to play as beautiful as you can, or to play as well as you can, so that people are moved by it and they really enjoy it. But if you think about it, if you're a drummer, you know, and you're trying to play your drums in worship to God, meaning you're trying to play it to please Him, and then you're trying to really focus on that. You know, if you're a bass player, if you're a pianist, you know, you're thinking about your note selection as, God, I want this to be beautiful for You. I want this to be worship, an offering to You, and that's really what music is so much. It is an offering, and I think we forget that, you know.
Where did that inspiration come from for you, or that revelation come from? Because I don't hear people, I mean, I've heard people talk about, you know, worship is not supposed to be about the worship leader, but the way that you talk about it and the way that you tie in that sort of that inspiration piece of letting the words themselves, and watching you write that song, and letting the even the melody, even the rhythm of it be inspired by God. Where did that come from? Because that's something that's new to me.
Well, I
live in Nashville.
Yeah, I think it comes from just probably where I was, kind of came to Christ, you know, at a church in West Angeles, in South Central Los Angeles, where we talked a lot about how that, you know, music is worship, and that what we do in worship really matters. And so if you break that down into the notes that I'm playing, you know, the feeling of the song, how does that make the audience feel, but then how does that make God feel? And really, it's where it comes from the heart. If you're singing and you really are concentrating on God to worship Him, right? I'm not just here to sing songs. I'm really here for these words to mean something to me and to God. And then I'm really thinking about that from a musical perspective, that why wouldn't I? I mean, there's a biblical word too called zamar, and that's probably where I got it from as well. That it's to worship God with instruments and with singing. And so I just took that as, when you're playing an instrument, that's just as much worship as what's coming out of your mouth. And so you can really literally think about the note choices and say, is this more beautiful than the other? Is this more moving than the other? Is this more fun than the other? Is this more joyous than the other? Because I mean, over and over, you know, the Bible tells us to make a joyous noise, right? A joyful noise. And so, you know, there's good kind of music, and there's the kind that doesn't sound good. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to play the kind that does sound good. And so that's really important, I think. It's just all about the heart. Am I playing these notes for God? Because this is supposed to be worship if we're in a worship service.